All right. So if you've been wondering how to decode the mind control techniques, you're not alone. This is one of those things that I think we should all be equipped with. And Mark Passio did an amazing job from episodes. I think he started on episode 14. He went for about 20 episodes in just categorizing and uh, describing different areas that it's like actual examples of the different mind control techniques that are being used every day, have been used for generations, multiple centuries. And we're going to discuss that today. I'm here with my son, Ryder. I think we'll have Dennis show up in a bit, and let's get to it. So, if you have been following with Mark Passio's podcast, What on Earth is Happening? Hopefully, you started at the beginning because there's some key pieces, starting with solipsism, this philosophy or belief or mind control thought pattern that there is no truth. Everything's relative, and there's really no right or wrong, because if one person says something's right based on their religion, and it's okay to murder, let's say, someone who has a different skin color or who has a different belief than yours, it's totally fine for you to go ahead and murder them, vice versa. And then I think that we see solipsism playing out all over the place, and that's really the foundation that Mark Passio lays in What on Earth is Happening, is this concept of solipsism. I myself had definitely bought that hook, line, and sinker, practiced that, taught it to my sons, and thought I was doing a good thing, thought I was being a good role model and mentor by saying, what's true for you is what you yourself have observed to be true, even though maybe your perception is narcissistic, sociopath, psychopath, nutso, or just raised by um, the boob tube. Um, i- that was a hard pill for me to swallow. Definitely, I was red pilled, and then we can talk about black pilled for sure. Took me a while to dig myself out of the negativity that it took me down, and that dwindling spiral that happens when you start to wake up and look at kind of the darker side of the world. And I will say a little bit of the darker side of yourself, especially if you have been making things like ignoring things that you knew were true from a very early age. I think that's a lot of us who are starting to wake up, that there are things that we knew just weren't right, but we had to go along with it or we would be ousted from the tribe, right? That whole concept. And it's one of the reasons that I'm here with my son having this discussion, because I think this is probably one of the most important discussions I will have with my son. Now he and I talk about all kinds of things. My second son, we talk about all kinds of things, not just this. And I think that that's really important, is that honest communication. And now, because my sons are older and they have their own voice and their own viewpoints, it's even more fun for me, because their support and their understanding and their mirroring certain things for me helps me grow. I think that's an important piece of relationship with mothers and their sons and daughters, and just the relationships with any fellow man or woman. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Ryder, because we've been talking about the decoding of these mind control techniques. And while Passio put 14 of them, or he identified 14 of them, and there's, from my viewpoint, I've been starting to see it everywhere. It's like once you see something, you start to see a lot more. And I see Dennis has joined us, and I'm going to um, pull up something really quickly that I wanted to share and make sure I get into the chat. Actually, Dennis might be even faster than me on this. So let me see if what I do here. Okay. Hey, Dennis. Oops. Nope. That didn't work. Let's try it now. Why does that keep kicking it off? Okay. I think that's working now. Hey, Dennis.
Hello,
Great to see
can you hear
you.
me?
Yeah, you sound great. And I love it. Red Pill of Truth. Dennis has been transcribing the podcast from day one. I think that's very useful. It's been super helpful for me because I'm more of a reader. I like to read and highlight and write out things. I have pages and pages of notes. And this is a lot of study material with what on earth is happening. So to have it transcribed is incredibly valuable. Thank you so much for doing that, Dennis. And welcome to the
Welcome.
show. This Dennis, folks, if you haven't subscribed to his channels, we'll make sure, Dennis, you can put them in the chat or just add them, and we will
Sure.
make sure folks have access to your channels. And then we're discussing these 14 techniques of mind control. And we've discussed a little bit more since we were going episode by episode. We got to episode 18, obfuscation, worldview. I want to go a little bit deeper, and then I want to carry through the 14. We'll make this a little shorter episode, hopefully. That's for Ryder. But Ryder, let's go over those 14. I'll pull them up if you want to see them. Um, let's see how fast I can do that. But Ryder, yeah. So where do you see these techniques of mind control coming up? For you personally, for you with what you observe, everything from whether it's food and medicine, whether it's, you probably don't have much of the government or the money piece. Well, actually, maybe I'm curious about how the money piece works for you. But the other things like the worldview, and especially with you wanting to be in a world arena with fencing and what you love, and how does it show up for you?
The first, actually, this is a different. It is not with the fencing, but with the food, where obfuscation and worldview come in. Actually, I see this a lot, and it's a lot, and like it's hard because on one hand, there's a good point from it, but on the other hand, you want to say, well, that's also just kind of make it up and justifying that it's okay, and that being how food dyes or the chemicals or the labels that food and that packaging companies get like to put on their food, how a lot of people will say, well, this is bad, like you should not be having this amount of food dye because it's banned in this country, or it's it's unhealthy because this amount of sugar, or it doesn't say non-GMO, or it doesn't say organic, or all these seed oils are bad. But a lot of this, and if I can, I'll try to find like the exact words, but a lot of it is just letting people get angry over something that they can understand instead of the fundamental problem, which is there is not a, I mean, I think the biggest argument was we would look at Europe. Like Europe has a healthier way of food, or like they have a healthier lifestyle than Americans. Like Americans are generally seen as overweight or more unhealthy. But there's a lot of different reasons to go into that. And it's not just because we have more processed food. All other countries have processed food as well. The difference is, first up, in Europe, a lot of those cities are walkable. So the people there are walking or they're biking or it's closer. So they're outside more and they're moving more. Another thing is they have a lot more emphasis on local farms, like local food, like local agriculture, everything. And in the United States, it's a lot more focused on the bottom line and the factories and how much profit you like, your profit margins. And anyone who goes over and says, well, it's unhealthy, like I might as well, I could eat this bowl of blueberries, or this apple has the same amount of sugar as this Coke soda. That's just it's something that they can wrap their heads around, but it's not actually solving, or it doesn't have anything to do with the underlying problem, which is like it needs to. There's a bigger shift that needs to happen, and a bigger thing that they personally can't control. So they just want to look at how, uh, let's say, certain yogurts have they put some chemical in it, or like something that you think, oh, why does water have this in it? Why does orange juice have this extra? Like, what was the example we were saying? What was the soy lecithin in?
Yeah, soy less a lot.
Like
So
that, we're saying
what
like
what
that's
I'm
that's the
hearing,
bad thing, but it's only because that's the only thing that people can like they can latch onto that.
yeah,
But
but
whether
overall,
it's
let me
blissfully ignorance, they're ignoring the actual problem, which is that I mean, in this case, there needs to be a shift. First up, there needs to be more like farmers nowadays. It's very hard for them to be successful because they're being pressured to sell their land or to endorse violent practices for the animals, like the
so
cubic.
this here, I mean, all these pieces, to me, it's those pieces are so late on the chain of the first moment of someone not taking personal responsibility for their own well-being, their own thoughts, their own what they put in their mouth,
Yeah,
and it
because
being turned into something complicated, which
exactly they
is
can
mind control,
justify
because I
their
think
well, yeah,
fundamentally what
because
mind
it's
control is to complicate the truth.
yeah, and that way
S
you can focus
Hence
on
the
something that's like
solipsism, right?
minuscule
There's
by
no truth.
comparison.
Yeah, so it's complicating. You've got complication of of the most simple thing, which is to feed yourself, and anyone, I mean, look at the amount of diets, look at the amount of pills, and Dennis, correct me if I was you are a pharmacist, right? Or by
Yeah.
trade. So how many thousands and if not tens and hundreds of thousands of pills have been made? Talk about complication, right?
What?
Complicating something, right? To me, that is like that's the epitome of mind control is let's just complicate it all. Let's just complicate it all so no one can understand anything and no one can figure out anything. And then try and go and solve it, but we'll provide the solutions. Here you go. And then they go and make a store that has 5,000 toothpastes, 5,000 brands of bread, and it's complicated, and so people are just completely in this a sense of chaos. This goes back to Passio's differences between someone who's in alignment, which is they're moving from calm, connected alignment versus chaos and control. So it can get simplified so to me so easily just by understanding these pieces, even though it does take work and it does take kind of feeling what you went through, Ryder, with regards to mind control, uh, realization. Because once you realize, holy crap, I've been under mind control, it's painful. And then you come out of it, you have a breath of fresh air and you can actually see, wow, this is amazing. And then you start, I think, recognizing things like we were talking about last time. There is negativity. Mark Passio is completely pissed off about life and the world and how it is. And I can understand that completely because I could go there. I could get myself really riled up and go there. But my vision for myself is not that path. My vision for myself is to be a loving mother and to see my precious son, who's my legacy, my second son, who that you are my legacy. So this to me is important. And I know sometimes, right, this isn't your favorite thing to do, but I know you having this understanding at a deeper level as opposed to just a glib level is going to help you long term because you're still young, 19. I mean, you're still young. So for you even just to have the piece around, let's just look at this exploitation of primal fears, right? How many kids right now are terrified of the dark? And how many parents use that to control their kids? And they shut the door and get over it. You need to get over the dark. Afraid of the dark. Ryder, were you ever afraid of the dark as a kid?
Uh, yeah, I think so.
Really? I never recall you being afraid of the dark.
Well, I mean,
You
I
know?
wouldn't do anything stupid. I just didn't like being in the dark. I was uncomfortable,
Yeah. I
so I
never
couldn't
s
see anything. But I was never like afraid. I don't think. Actually, I disagree. I don't think kids nowadays are like that. I think they're not okay. Whether there are more or less than the 14, if that's the baseline we're using, there's not. I don't think they need to use all 14 at the same time. I don't think they don't need to use that right now. There's no need to exploit the primal fear right now because they're just removing any primal instinct from kids entirely with
Yeah.
like the devices. There's I have not seen a kid who has acted like an individual person. They are all basically little like machines. They don't they you just like it's like you're putting a piece of paper in their mouth and they're spitting out a response. Like they
And
don't have any
that's
actual life going on.
and that's because I know you spend time with kids as a coach. You're constantly, I mean, you're around the gamut of ages as you go to tournaments and such. That really is painful like I literally feel like almost nausea and grief for our world because of that. Because I know that the youth like you, even knowing your spirit and your energy as you were growing up, seeing that and seeing in myself certain things that wanted to control it, but I could see also my own mother and her need to control, and I had enough wherewithal to stop that stimulus response of me basically repeating the same thing that my mother did to me, right?
Hmm.
I think I did one time I did something out of a stimulus response that was identical to something that my mother did to me, and when I did that to you, I felt the most repulsion and anger within myself, and I don't know what that is except that it's some kind of poisoning that I think it's a generational poisoning, you know,
Yeah.
where where generationally parents are continuing to perpetuate this mind control that's been going on, whether it's religion, whether it's the ridicule and denial and hassle factor, because it comes down from parents. I mean, you think about that, right?
Yeah.
They have the first point of control. They have the first point of entrance to anything, if they're actually parents. Otherwise, they go into an assembly line. But each one of these, we could go down each one of these for children, for our youth: obfuscation, making sure our kids do not have the ability to think for themselves,
Hmm.
worldview poisoning. So immediately, you have to be afraid of this. Oh, you can't do this. And don't you hear me sometimes even saying that about you? Like, I'm still in that monetary system fear and mind controlled by that, right?
Yeah.
And where you're like, no, we'll handle it. We got this. And you're just playing. And then I get a little resentful of it. And that so infuriates me that I do that, but I don't know how to get myself out of that, you know?
Hmm. That's the best learning thing that I've gotten from this is embracing the fact that I'm not going to work just so I can have money in advance. Like I'm going to do the bare minimum to enjoy my life and the bare minimum to have what I need, the resources that I need. Like
You
I'm
mean the
not
bare
going to.
minimum of the slave society?
I mean the bare minimum. Well, I mean if that means I need to make money, then I'm going to do the least amount of effort required to get the most results from it. I mean that's just it.
I understand what you're
I see
saying.
no
Yeah.
reason to work hard for anything. I'm only going to work hard for something that I enjoy or something that that's gonna benefit me, and then I can help other people. But I'm not going to work hard just so I can
Feed the
like I'm
slave
not going to put
train.
in more work for a less return on investment. Like I would never. I'm not going to work minimum wage ever. I'm not going to work at any job except like I'm working and I'm
Because you
making
know that your
twice as
time
much
and your
minimum wage.
attention and your energy is more valuable than a piece of paper or,
Yeah.
$13
The
that
paper is
yeah,
just a symbol that they use to manipulate your energy because
that's
they inflate
exactly
it
right.
away, print as much as they want, and inflate it away. So yeah, why work hard when your energy is just dissipated at will by the controllers, right? If you have something that's deflationary like Bitcoin, it goes up and down, right? So one Bitcoin 5, 10 years from now is worth more than that same amount in dollars that you had now. Hold it for 10 years, it's worthless.
That's true.
Yeah, and that whole understanding of the financial world, thinking that that's the game you need to play to win, but if you don't understand that you're actually playing that game and there are certain bankers and rulers, like a monopoly, right? If you don't understand how to play monopoly, you're probably not going to win. You're probably not going to do very well, right? And especially if you're not the banker, because the banker can be doing all kinds of things. So yeah, that's for sure. And Dennis, you know far more than a lot. So folks, if you want to know more about um, Bitcoin and all of that, I'm not against any of that. But the time and the season that I'm in right now is I want liberty. I want freedom. I used to think I wanted to make a big impact. I wanted to help as many people as possible. This is my mission in life, to help as many people as possible. And to do the Mark Passio, and I've got to get my great work, and I've got to go and get on the tech world and spew out my viewpoint of everything. And I I don't think that's necessarily valuable or useful in any way. I really don't at this stage. Um, However, I'm still showing up to do this, right? Here I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm working through my pieces. I guess I don't know if it's that I'm covering all my bases, or uh, honestly, it's because my tendency is to go all or nothing. So I would just say, screw it, I'm done with all this. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to do any of this. And so I'm trying to kind of just go into, like, okay, what's really going on here? What is it that that I'm going through? And it's Timothy, I interviewed you, and I know you've been through the gamut as well. It's like, how do we how do we navigate all of this? Because it is super easy. And Dennis, you know this because I sent you all the information of what Ryder and I were going through with regards to, look, it is not my intention to spew out a bunch of negativity into the world, into the universe, into the consciousness, because I might be a little confused, or I might have my own frustrations or doubts or whatever. And but at the same time, it's interesting, because is it useful for us, the three of us, to be here? Now, to me, I can say, as a mom, I want to control my son's time, and I want him to be here with me because I know what else he would be doing with his time. And not that I don't think it's important what he's doing with his time, but I think this is a little bit more important. That's why I'm doing this. Like, I want my son to look at these. So the 14, and I think there are many more points of mind control, but these 14 techniques are definitely something that I wouldn't have thought of before. I didn't consider even uh, I had I think time, isn't time in there as a mind control
The
piece?
illusion of time.
The illusion of time. That shook me to my core. I spent a lot of time meditating on the illusion of time, especially after going through the whole thing on money, and really understanding that money is not real. The whole construct of money is not real. And then as he was decoding the ISIS symbol, and the symbol of the S with the two things of ISIS, what does that mean? And then I mean, I haven't even touched my own understanding of all of these goddesses and tarot and all of this. I have very surface level understanding. And Ryder, I don't know that you will ever be interested in tarot, or meditating on the and understanding gods and goddesses and Freemasonry and all of this. And I don't know if it's even essential. I don't know. I don't
I would
know
say
that it's essential
they're
to
sort of,
dive deep into it.
I see them as sort of metaphors and allegories of your inward psyche. So if you understand gods and goddesses and all that as a part of your own subconscious energy and your subconscious mind way of thinking, and you can relate it to yourself, like the Sophia mythos that John Lam Lash covers, the fallen goddess scenario. She acted, the Aeon Sophia acted without consulting with her consort Christos, and acted independently, and it kind of screwed up and caused a lot of evil and chaos, right? So when we act independently, not of those close to us, not, that's how you can internally apply it, right? You're acting independently, you're not taking into consideration those who are close to you, you think have some wisdom, family, your husband or whatever, and you act independently, it can mess things up, right? That's sort of a way to internalize the allegory. Otherwise, if you just take it too literally, it doesn't have a lot of application.
So that's really key, because one of my biggest challenges has been taking everything literally. And I think the gift that Passio has is unraveling the allegories
Yeah.
and helping you see them for what they are. And I think that that's important. That's
Subtle
something
message.
I did not have
A subtle
prior.
message that your subconscious takes in and understands, even if you can't articulate in detail what the allegory is. Like Mark Passio did a breakdown on the Matrix movie, the 3 Matrix movies,
Yeah.
and Matrix 4 as well, showing you what the allegory is saying in history and your individual life and stuff. Have you seen those?
Those were great. So was The Wizard of Oz. I don't know if I agreed with everything from The Wizard of Oz because I read Baum's books. I think that he was making up some stuff in his own beliefs. I don't know that Frank Baum really I don't know that that was the case. I literally think that he was, taking carte blanche and deciding what he was gonna make it be. Totally fine, but it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. Um, it's like 1984 or Brave New World or Animal Farm. Those definitely allegories, or even, what was it? Oh, what was the one? Water oh my gosh, the one where
Fahrenheit
the
450.
rabbit,
Oh,
the
Watership Down.
yes, Watership Down. Oh my gosh, that terrified me because I took it literally. And I couldn't it's like I had the Velveteen Rabbit, and then I had Watership Down as and I would have nightmares, like terror nightmares of bunnies and rabbits and just like evil rabbits. And so because my mind literally could not, it was like I took everything literally, you know?
Isn't it funny how easy it is? If you look at it, if you look at like, not like too literally, but if you look at how reading a book, not even like watching a movie that has like the visuals that can imprint on you, but reading the book puts you in that state,
Hmm.
even though physically there is nothing. It is nothing. It is a book with ink on it, with
Yeah.
pages. That you're putting so much meaning to words in. You can take the exact same words in a different order, and it'll make you feel a completely different way.
So is that mind control?
Words are
Yeah,
symbols,
of
right?
course.
They're
Yeah.
just letters.
Words
They're
are symbols.
symbols
Words are
that,
simple. So
but
it's
the symbols are powerful because they evoke in you an image in your mind as you're reading. You're creating an image in your mind of what's going on in the story, right?
So then
Yeah.
who's controlling that? Who's controlling the mind? Because isn't that at the end of the day? I mean, this is what I teach and preach and tell my clients, and I would hope that it's correct. But at the end of the day, aren't we all responsible and able to control our own thoughts? And that's the number one thing that we are here to do is to know and understand that the only power we truly have is to control our own thoughts.
You first have to be able to distinguish what is your thoughts. There are thoughts coming into our brain that are not from us.
Okay.
We accept
But
responsibility for them, like, oh, that's my thought. Just hold it. Don't react on it, and often it will just sort of pass. They're just out there in the field. In reality, it's consciousness. There's consciousness in everything, and it's just not all your thoughts are yours. You got to discern that first. I would say it's not
so
so easy,
so then it goes back to you have to know who you are.
right?
And if you were raised with a bunch of screens, which it sounds to me like now most of the planet of the youth today have a screen in front of them, so they don't even know how to differentiate who they are and what thoughts are what, you know? That's terrifying to me. But I'm going off on tangents and I really want for you, writer, to take a look at a couple of these other pieces, right? So I mean,
I'll
it's
tell you
pretty
what.
clear mass media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's clear. That's a total control mechanism, total mind control. We know religion, but there's subversive symbolism. And I really want to ask you about chaos sorcery, Dennis, but submersive symbolism is something I want to talk about because I have noticed, and this is nothing against your Magic the Gathering world, writer,
Yeah.
but or Warhammer or whatever all the other games. But is that not subversive symbolism to the
Well,
core?
I was going to say this earlier when we came into the idea of mind control. I mean, what about Little Women?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Old Yeller, or Harry Potter, or Lord of the
Absolutely.
Rings, or
Or
The
Jane
Hobbit.
Eyre, or all my Jane
All of these
Austen.
things,
I know.
they are not inherently bad, and they're not inherently going to cause anything. At at the end of the day, after you read a book that might affect you or give you new ideas or challenge your way of thinking, it is up to you to be the watchman at the gate, as you always put it, and filter the thoughts out. As well as the fact, I mean, you gave me this tool when we were doing the raise your inner game, where you just sit and you let the thoughts come up, and then you don't reject them. You just let them be there, and then eventually they will clear automatically by themselves. And then you can actually think about what thoughts are sticking, and then what you need, and then it'll be easier to dictate what is just popping in your head and what you actually have to clear. And of course, I mean, of course, the things are right. It's not saying that that's going to control me though, or it's going to control anybody who's doing it,
That's
because
if
it's
someone has enough,
well, they
conscious
have to have enough
connection.
clarity and focus that it
Mhm.
is, because it's also where, like, it's fun to let yourself not be mind controlled, but let yourself fall into a different world or be transported to a different world. It's fun to do that.
The more
I
you
know, I
understand the
totally
occult,
understand that.
the more you'll be able to do that with power and not be taken over, consumed by it, right? Ultimately, the study of the occult is that which is hidden. What is hidden ultimately is your subconscious. The more you understand your own subconscious mind, symbols, what they traditionally, study it and see what it traditionally is meant. But symbols are so, flexible. You can interpret them in lots of different ways for you personally, inwardly. And if you know your own occulted, hidden subconscious mind, you're much less apt to be taken, screwed with by a video game or a movie or whatever. It doesn't have to affect you in a bad way if you understand the occult, your own occulted hidden mind, right? It's an important study. It is important, I think.
Yeah, so, Timothy, right on, discernment, that's the key, right? I don't know, Idiocracy? Wait a minute, did we see Idiocracy? Or maybe I saw that with is that with, is that totally stupid movie? Like, it's ridiculous how idiotic it is? Is that the one with, the, Saturday Night Live gal, Maya Maya
I do
Randolph,
not know.
and the
It
other
could
kid? I
be.
mean, it was truly stupid, like, just above and beyond the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But that's funny because I grew up wanting to be an actor since I was 2, went off, studied theater, did my whole thing in acting and performing, and thought it was just the most important thing for me to be doing. It was, sinking my teeth into Hedda Gabler or to, A Streetcar Named Desire, and just, like, into these roles that meant so much, and yet, what was I contributing to? It's like
Well, okay, going back, like, kind of going off of what Dennis's point was, where if you're doing something, you need to be aware of what that you are doing it consciously, and that you are doing it for a reason. Like, it's the difference between if you're watching a movie and you are consciously, like, sitting there looking at it. Like, I think if you watch a movie with a book and you write it down and you write what you like about it and what you don't like about it in the moment, and you're really picking up on everything, that will be a completely different experience than if you just go to a theater, sit down, watch it for 2 hours, and then just don't think about it for a week.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
and it's the same thing. Like, so what if there's not a point to you acting or doing these roles? I mean, it's the same thing. You can just fall down the downward spiral of if you're going to think that the things that bring you some form of fulfillment or enjoyment aren't, like, if there's not serving a purpose, then there's no purpose. Then how many things are actually serving a direct purpose? Then
Yeah.
you just go
Well,
back to
I
primal
went through a
instincts of
massive
one to this.
loop, on this, and what I'm seeing now, even for my own life, is that I used to think everything's like in a circle and you're just going to come back to the beginning anyway, but it's more of like the lemniscape, right? You recognize something and it's changing, or it's even a spiral upward,
Yeah,
because
it's more. Yeah, I
with
think it's more of
with
like
theater and
the.
acting now, I don't have the I went through a decade of justification of why I left LA and New York. Why? Because I wanted to raise my babies and I didn't,
I mean, it's
because I
because you felt
didn't
bad
enjoy
about it because you
parenting.
took it away from yourself. So that's, I
What's
mean,
that?
because because you were justifying it because you felt bad that you did that because you always were going to have that regret. You were trying to cover up that regret
No,
because
not
there was still part
necessarily.
of you
I
that
did
wanted.
not regret leaving LA to raise you. I did
No,
not want to raise
I
my
don't mean
son
that, but I mean
in
there's going to be
LA,
a piece
me
of you
moving.
thinking that how would you what would have happened if you had done this differently? What would have happened if you decided to stay in LA and raise us anyway?
Right. And finally, I've let go of that regrets thanks to Mark Passio saying you can't change the past.
Right, you have
I
to
had for
look
the
forward.
longest time in my right-brained imbalance thought that I could go and change the past. And so I worked really hard to change my past instead of just going, holy shit, my past sucked. Some of those really were stupid. And now what can I do better? Instead, I was like, I've got to change my past because, I kept
That's
living in the
funny
past
because I
trying
know
to
you
change.
you told me that like you can go back and rewrite, so you have like that good positive thing. But actually, that is probably, I mean, I'm sure in moderation or like for a few minutes you can like imagine something different. But that is such an easy way of getting people stuck in in the past and not even looking at the present. Like people being stuck in the future and always looking forward. That's a lot of what's happening nowadays. Is how that's a lot of the mind control. Final game is just having everybody think, when at this point you're working to get towards this point. So when you're at this point, you can be retired, and then you can like you just keep pushing. It's like you're pushing the hurdle farther and farther away the closer you get to it.
So that's the inner work that I have to do, or as some say,
I mean,
shadow
a
work,
lot of have to
etc.
do that. Yeah, a lot of
That's
people have to do that, and it's the same thing where you're not willing to look at the hurdle before, like you're walking backwards. Like if you're running a race, like you're trying to walk around the entire Earth, you're starting by going backwards, basically. And you still have to, and it's not like you're getting closer the other way. You're actually having to make up all of that ground just to get back to the starting line. Because you're thinking about everything behind you. And every time you're doing that, you're taking a step in that direction. Or if anything, because you're trying to get closer to like at this, let's say like a week ago, you wish you could go back in time and fix that. So you decide to go back to that week and try to redo that,
mhm.
like in your mind. You're then not living the day that you're like the minute that you're in right now. And if you're actually going to try and go and recorrect this whole week, then you're a week in debt, basically, because you just missed a week of the present. That could have been because I think instead of trying to change how the past, like instead of trying to say that last week I lived it like this, or last year, like 2 years ago, I lived like this instead. Why don't you take how you wish you had lived then and implement that now and live like that now?
Learn from
And
the
too many
past instead of
people,
reliving it. Yeah, learn from it instead of reliving it, because a lot of
yeah,
what percentage of our thoughts are in the past or worrying about the future? Probably a
Well,
lot.
and
Your
and
typical
that's the
person,
thing.
90%.
exactly, yeah,
Isn't that mind control? Isn't that
Yeah,
part of the whole mind control of
keep you. Yeah,
looking at
it
these factors, right?
takes you out of the present
And
moment. If you could just be in the
yeah.
present moment all the time, that's where the magic happens. But what percentage of the time does your typical person do that?
hmm it's really hard to do that. I watched this short video. It was like it was a reading exercise. So it would pop one single word on screen with a line, like with a focus point. So one letter would always be highlighted for you, and it would it would speed up the words from going from 90 words to a minute to eventually 900 words, like just super fast speeds. And it started off slow, and it kept you because as soon as you start thinking about what you just saw,
Your conscious
you
mind is like,
lost. You
oh,
were a step exactly. You were a step behind,
but
and
they
you
know
had
the
to completely
subconscious can pick that up.
yeah, you had to completely reset and go back to the present moment. You couldn't catch up. You could never catch up. You had to reset, present moment, and just go from there.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do because you have to because a lot of people because it's a lot harder to do that to completely reset what you're doing and just go back to the present moment.
And that's the practice, isn't it?
hmm
That's the practice. Well, so the last time we talked on our little episodes, um, we were looking at like not continuing this. And since Dennis is here and he's asked me, well, what's the deal? What are we going to do? And I don't really have a decision, although I want to continue to have these discussions, but I do want you to have more of the knowledge. And I know as as it got closer to in the 50s, 60s, 70s in the episodes, um, there's some really useful understanding of the world, and I think that it's something that's valuable for anyone to take their time if they are going to, how should I say this? So, uh, one of the pieces of mind control is indoctrination instead of education.
Yeah.
And I think that the podcasts to me are very educational
Hmm.
if you look at it from that perspective, and that I think anything can be indoctrination if you're a zombie and you're just taking stuff in from the hose and you're not filtering it, right? So in terms of what I see for the next, probably, I don't know, 6 months, writer,
Hmm.
because I'm now in deep inner work for myself, in a whole new level of inner work. And as I approach getting closer to 60, I know there's something that happens, I think, in the psyche and the energy of a woman. I can't speak for a man. I look at you, Ryder, 19, just beginning. You're so young. And yet I remember being 19 and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be 20 soon. Life is over. I've got so much to do and I wanna get all this done," and I wasn't getting it done and all of this, and I don't wanna put that on you. I don't wanna put that stress and strain on you, but at the same time, I don't want you to be behind when you hit your 40s, 50s, 60s, and there are
Well,
constructs that have to be in place. That's why I had you read The Slight
definitely, but
Edge.
also behind according to what? According to who's?
According to living on this planet and playing the games we're playing. Because let's face it, we're all playing a game on this playing field that requires game pieces that need to be fed, clothed, shelter, you know, uh, niceties, and all of that. And you can either go and play on the side of being, um, you know,
A
all the way
hermit.
to homeless living off the dole, or you can be living in castles and all of that, right? So there's wide ability to play the game here, right?
Hmm.
And jump in anytime, Dennis, because I'm just
That's a
trying
good
to even
analogy.
sort this out for myself, because I'm at the stage where I'm like, I'm ready to check out. I'm ready to be like, I don't mean like be dead. I mean like I'm ready to go get my little sailboat and be in the ocean, like, free. I'll catch my fish and I'll get my rainwater, and
The
goodbye,
first thing
everybody. You're just
the thing I would
stupid
ask you
people.
about
I want
that is
nothing to do with you.
the thing I would ask about that is though, is that just something that you're saying because you think that that's going to be better than now? Like,
No, and it's not to escape
because if you've
now.
had an
It's not to
experience
escape.
that you know that you can, then that's perfect. But I'm saying like I could not do that because I like having something to do and something to work for. And not even like just something that I can do besides just the bare minimum to live.
Yeah,
While you're
and
young.
I
Like
recall that.
if I go back to 19, I would say take the time to really discover yourself. So that not at 30, 40, 50, you're behind trying to discover your higher self, your true will, your true passion, purpose. Before you get into jobs or relationships, even take that time, however long it takes, probably 2 to 5 years at least at your age, to really find yourself. Instead of I've
So
heard,
how would you go about doing that, Dennis?
I go back in time, tell myself just do that. Don't quick. Don't jump into relationships or even your job. Like you're saying, work minimally, what you need to survive, but don't sit down and just watch TV after truly read. Process the Passio stuff. Like do your own independent research a little deeper. Try to internalize it in the right way, in a positive, motivating way, and yeah. Otherwise, you're just sort of going along with the crowd and not really discovering yourself and what's true to you. There's a certain objective truth as a concept. Passio says, I agree, there's an objective truth to every issue, but we interpret it and understand it so subjectively. That's why everyone argues and fights. Nobody in this world doesn't argue and fight about something. It's always some truth perspective that you're arguing about, so we perceive it so subjectively, right? But if you're attuned as a concept to try and discover what honestly, sincerely, what the objective truth is, then you can sense that in a person and you can work with somebody like that and try to be somebody who can work with another person like that. But a lot of people, just their egos get involved. They just want to be right. and they're not really listening except just to listen to argue with you as soon as you stop talking, right? That's probably the problem of ego, right? What you were talking about being an actress earlier, I was thinking of a question. There's some really good actors like Tom Cruise. I used to really watch a lot of movies, and right, he's a good actor, could really get into his roles, right? And I'm just curious because I've never been an actor. Do you disconnect from your real self as you're playing a role? Like, is that does Tom Cruise like really get into the role? And he thinks he forgets he's Tom Cruise until they say cut. I don't know. You've had actors
I have no idea
experience,
about Tom Cruise at all. I don't know what he does. I worked with Sandy Meisner, and when I worked at the Neighborhood Playhouse and at Playhouse West, the whole philosophy is living truthfully in imaginary circumstances. And it is bliss. To me, that is bliss, to live truthfully in imaginary circumstances. Now, in those imaginary circumstances, and you're living truthfully, I'm not misidentifying who I really am, but I'm living truthfully in those imaginary circumstances. The thing is, when I worked on movies, it's very long hours. And most of the time, it was basically you're on the set and you go home and sleep.
yeah,
So one of the reasons I chose not to is because not to continue to do movies and theater with raising a son, and we left LA, is because I knew if I left my son, I'm basically putting him in someone else's hands, and I'm a different character because it is very difficult when, especially sometimes I was playing alcoholic, I'd have bruises all over my body and painted bruises, etc. You come home, there's no way to flip the switch. There's just, because it's so alive in you,
right.
and it does spill over. So I don't know how
Yeah,
it does for other actors, but I
I
know
heard
for me, what's that?
Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey played the role of Latka. There's a movie,
Mm.
Man on the Moon or something, I think it
Oh,
was.
that's right. Yeah.
And there's a story, I don't know if it's true, that he got so much into the role of Latka that he couldn't shut it off. He'd go home and he was still talking like Latka, and and even after the movie's done, he's kind of like messed up and took a while to get out of that. And now, if you
Yeah.
listen to Jim Carrey, he's all kind of ad beta, Vedanta. He's all kind of out there. It might have affected his consciousness. He went inward, studied, and why did he get so lost in a role? It's like every human being's like that. Where it's this ego, this flesh body, this mind. It's not really us, right? There's a higher self that's incarnated in a spirit into the flesh, and you get so locked in the role, you forget yourself. That's why I was asking the question about being an actress. Can you get so much into the role you kind of forget who you are? And that's kind of the human experience.
100%. And I think that that's one of the reasons early on that I wanted to be an actor, is because I didn't love my life. It was very painful to be in Stefana's life, little Stefana. It was very painful. It was scary. I wanted to escape. That's why I wrote scripts. I wrote things so that I could go somewhere else. And it took me a while to unravel that and come back to the true joy of living in imaginary circumstances and creating with the imagination, because I think that is one of the most powerful things we have, is our ability to imagine and create.
Sure.
And so, I mean, that is a true gift. That's why I think, when you homeschool or educate your families and your children's, and Tim, when you and your wife have children, please consider homeschooling, because you have the ability to help keep the youth and their imagination alive. And it's amazing the kinds of things like Ryder. I have just so much of things that he would put forth with his imagination. And I mean, at like, I don't know when it was, you created an entire world of graph. And I'm like, this is a genius business. And I got him a URL and we were going to hold business on it. And he did an entire pixelated thing that was just so creative and amazing. And I know, Ryder, you can speak for yourself on this, where you have in your imagination so much. It's how do you then translate it into the world with graphic design or with game design or whatever it is that, how do you translate it? That's one of the skills. Like Timothy was asking, Ryder, do you have a trade skill? Ryder has like 5 of them. You could drop him off on a ranch with horses, and any ranch, and just drop him off, and he could be a great a wrangler, and he's incredible with horses, and so he's got
Cool.
that trait. And besides that, he's an amazing coach and a fencer, and a really good guide. But trade skills, what other things? I mean, the game design, that was something that he was so interested in from a very early age, and then creating with understanding pixels, and his mind works that way. So mine doesn't, so I avoided it, but his does just naturally, like he can pick it up, and maybe that's the generation.
Hmm.
What do you say, Ryder?
The other music's not really a trade skill, but
Oh, that's
I
right.
do
My
music
God,
a
I
lot.
can't believe I didn't say. I know you're an advanced
I
pianist
do
and
like it music.
fun
It's
with
fun.
you. Really, yeah. But it's not like for me as a mom, having the ability to allow, because it's an ability for a parent to allow their children to have their own interests and not push that onto them.
Oh, from the
And the
start.
mind control thing is all like, this is techniques. Like it can be the greatest gift and greatest lessons. I learned more raising my boys than all prior, but I still, at the end of the day, still wanted them to have, to understand art and music and sciences and, philosophy and things like that, that maybe they weren't totally interested in, but they at least participated in it, being with horses, being around animals, things like that.
Mhm.
What's your take on it, Ryder?
Well, that helped a lot early just because it kept me grounded and in reality very easily. And it keeps me very present because of that. Like I enjoy living in the moment. And that's the most fun I have is when I'm doing something. Like I told you, like I have fun cooking, like preparing each thing, even if that takes me like 30 to 45 minutes. I enjoy doing that. It's something that it's not like I'm doing this because I need to eat and I need to get it done as fast as possible because I want food. I
Mhm.
enjoy the process of it. So I will budget the time before. Like I want to do this, so I'm going to take this time to make a nice meal. Or same thing if I'm like doing my laundry, like okay, I want to take the time to do this because I enjoy having it clean and enjoy doing this. So I'm going to do this because in the moment I'm not doing. I like even if I have something going on in the background, I'm still present to the moment of what I'm doing, and I'm not just trying to get from point A to point B, like in the shortest time possible. And that's really important because if you don't enjoy that, that's how you get swept into trying to optimize every little thing to the point of, okay, I just need to get some form of food. Like, I mean, the super heavy extreme is just blend up the protein isotopes and just eat that. Get it done super easy, or just have it pre-made. Just have something like at that point, just have powder with water, and that's it. You don't need any food. Just the protein that you need, water, done. like what like what my brother's doing, where it's just taking raw, just the molecules of food, and because that's all you need for the body to survive. Why would you do anything else than that? Anything else is lavish and extravagant.
Mhm.
Even like when I was baking those oatmeal cookies, like I mean, I'm doing that because I enjoy it and I'm going to enjoy eating them. It's not that I need this. I'm doing it because I choose to and I want to.
Yeah.
It's like there's an old adage that I think Benjamin Franklin, that's the first source I can quote it to, said you when you like the difference between being fat and not is living to eat and eating to live. Like you have to find a balance in there because he was, I think it was like a story I heard how he was talking with some soldiers from uh I don't know if it was France or something, but like they were very like not like skinny because they didn't eat a lot because they were like for hire mercenaries, and there's just banter back and forth, and you saying like that it's the difference between when your sole purpose of eating is just so you can survive. It's a lot easier to stay. It's a lot easier to not eat and to not like enjoy or indulge on food when the sole purpose of doing it is just so you can eat and like survive. Like when you find out the bare minimum, it's a really low bar of what you need to actually survive. Like the bar is super, super low when you actually like strip away everything. Because realistically, for your body to survive, you don't need all these optimized amounts of protein and fat and carbs and everything. You just need this, and you can do that super easily, and that's it. And you'll be done within 5 minutes. You can have all of it ingested, and then it's just digesting in your body really quickly. Versus when you're living because you're eating because you enjoy it. You enjoy cooking. You enjoy the ingredients. That's the other extreme, right? Like a chef who cooks all their own food. You go to a market, you wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go to see the fresh fish or to see the fresh produce that the farmers brought. And you have to be at this early time before everyone else gets there. So you then bring that with you. Then you have to prepare it because you'd be getting a slab of meat for lunch next week because you're going to bury it and you're going to let it slow cook in the earth and you're going to then barbecue it and then you're going to do all this stuff. Like you're planning your entire life for the next week around this meal. And then when you're watching it, you're having it slow cook for 8 hours on the day. Like think about that. Like you're cooking a meal in the morning so you can eat it at night. Or the other option is I have this paste that has all I need in it, and that's all I need. So that's all I'm going to eat.
Reminds me of the Matrix movie where Neo was given this like goop or whatever that was all the nutrients he needed, and it was even Cypher later betrayed them because he loved the steak. Oh, it's an illusion,
That's
but
right.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like
I want to remember nothing. Nothing.
that's the biggest thing. Like there has to be a balance between both of these things.
Yeah.
If you're not enjoying what you're doing, because that's the biggest thing of mind control. If we're going back to that, like if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're not enjoying the quote unquote healthy options, I mean, then you're losing some other part that's making it less healthy. You have to, because if you're forcing yourself to eat this certain way, but you're not feeling better, you're at a net negative because you feel worse because you're not enjoying it. It is just worse for you than if you just decided to add healthy stuff. That's why I always say, add exercise, add healthy food, add the fun things. Don't take away what you're already doing before you at least have some form of replacement for it. Because then when you're doing the better things, you're like, oh, I enjoy this. I can take away this instead. So I'm going to add reading time. And you know what? I enjoy reading this book more than I enjoy watching a TV show. So I'm going to stop watching the TV show. But if you just stop watching the TV show without any replacement there, and you just have all this new free time, you're going to you're not going to like it. You're going to want to go back. And it's not even because you were addicted or anything. It's just, I mean, objectively, it is less fun to sit and not do anything than all the other options you could be doing. There's so many different things you could be doing that are fun.
If you're present.
And if you're present, exactly.
Otherwise,
I'm talking in the context of you're present, because if I stopped doing something while I was present, like if I stopped watching a 20-minute video and I'm completely present, it's just flipping a switch from completely on to completely off. And like it's important to do that, but I'm saying in the context of in this moment, I want to do something. Going from doing something fun to doing something that is like, I have aversion to doing this. I don't want to do this. That's the easiest way of how to get people. That's the easiest way for people to get stuck in mind control.
Mm-hmm.
I think our society is built in such a way, like the monetary system itself, right? So if you really enjoy cooking, you want to explore being a chef, and you do that for a few years because you really enjoy it, and it's like, yeah, I'm kind of out of this. I got a new inkling to try something else, but you invest the time, the energy, the money. You got a job, you got to make money. It's all controlling you. You're not free to now go and explore something else because you have to think of that so-called stuff of money, but it's just a mind control thing, right? See, here's a good question for you. You're young. Answer this question for me. If you won 50 million in a lottery tomorrow, what would you do with your life? Money's not a concern at all. What would you go? What would you do? Would you try being a chef for as long as you want? Drop that, do something else new, because money's not an object. What would you do with your life?
Honestly, right now, I am very grateful. I would continue doing what I'm doing with just more of what I'm doing. So I would continue my training and fencing just with all of the most expensive. Like I would never with even 1 million. I could continue my sport forever. I would be able to do it I could keep working. I'm already working with the best coaches. I moved to Houston so I could work with the best coaches. So it's not like I would move to Italy or move to France. I'm where I want to be. I would just have all the equipment I'd ever need, all the recovery medicines, all the recovery like research I'd need, all the recovery, all the training I'd need. For my own hobbies, I mean, I'm already doing the hobbies that I enjoy. I would just be able to do them even more. I would be able to do fun activities even more. Like I would not worry about trying to explore all these new things because I'm already doing the things that I enjoy. And now I have the freedom to if I feel like, oh, I kind of want to do this, now I could do this. But I'm already in a place where I built my life around doing what I enjoy. So and like that's a great question because a lot of people will answer like I do this, this, and this, and this. I would continue doing the exact same thing.
Good.
I would just have more freedom in this sense. But I'm already trying to already I'm at a stage where I'm living pretty much how I would be living even if I had unlimited resources. So that would just be the final, like that would just be the cherry, basically, and then I could continue without for
I'm just assuming it's not totally the case. Like you still have to work or make money a bit to pursue your passion. Is that true, or you're pretty
yes, yeah,
financially?
because right now I set it up so the way that I'm making money and paying for my expenses is by doing something I enjoy. By coaching the younger kids and by coaching tournaments, it's not only is that fun, I enjoy doing that, and not only am I good at that because my brain works that way, so I see the options, but I'm getting paid in exchange for that, and it's helping me myself because I'm seeing more and more experience. I'm seeing more and more like I'm just like immersing like I'm immersing myself with every aspect of it I can. And it's like, if I'm present in the moment, it's like, would I rather be doing something else to make the same amount of money? No, this is totally fine for me. So that's what I'm doing. Like to cover my fencing expenses, I also work at my fencing club and I coach there. So
It
it's
helps you
perfect
become a
for me.
better like at your craft when you actually have to be able to teach it. You have to be able to explain it and demonstrate it. Makes you better at your own craft, right? Like I'm a
Absolutely,
writer,
yeah,
teach people how to write a fictional story. I don't know how to even begin, or computers. You know, they're so buggy and hard to work with to explain how computers think and how to program. It's like you just sort of know it after a while. But you stay in touch with that if you try to
yes,
teach it.
and that's the final piece for people who like when I see people who are masters in a craft or something. Not only do they have the experience of the experts who can just do it like they're like breathing, but they can also teach it in such a way that makes everyone go, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. That's totally obvious." And then they see it that way. That is like what a true master is in my eyes of some like a master of the craft. They not only because it's different because you can't just only be good at explaining it and teaching it. You also have to be able to just like effortlessly, like you found every little segment is set up perfectly and it runs smoothly. And hiccups, you fix like you act like it wasn't even there. And that's like what I'm able to get here because it's one thing to be able to explain it to someone because that's like the first big step that a lot of people need to do is be able to of truly understanding something is being able to explain it to someone else.
Right.
That is where you can really show that okay, yes, you can you now actually have an
Makes you
understanding
think
of
the
that.
steps more. It makes you understand more to explain it to somebody else. Like I thought sometimes, hey, I should go teach English. I know people go teach English in China or something. I understand English, I'm even a writer. I can just know when a
Yeah,
sentence sounds good, but to try and break it down now to prepositional phrases and subject and verb, it's like that'd be very difficult. I just know really difficult. Actually, be good at what you're doing and be able to teach it. Like keep doing that, you'll become a master, like a
yeah,
super
that's the
master.
hardest thing right there. And
Yeah.
that's the fun part because like there's a lot of things that you take for granted when you do things just like for a long enough period of time that you can't it's like you don't understand why they work. And it's really helpful to give yourself the opportunity, even if you don't need to actually like teach it. Imagine you were explaining it to yourself or just like write a script how you would explain to somebody else, even just for an exercise for yourself, and then read it yourself and then see if that makes sense or see if you correct it. Because that's the easiest way to then go into the process of 100% knowing that you know exactly what you're talking about for yourself. Like that's how when I was doing coding and programming specifically for games design, but like earlier when I was just trying to learn like C sharp, C++, all the different because I was trying to learn like a couple different scripts at once. The like the best way when I was able to get it is when I would like out like right before I was laying down in my bed And I was thinking about the problem, and then I was going through it, and I was able to see in my head why I was doing this. And then I was like imagining I made a video explaining to someone, like, how would I make a tutorial for somebody that's super simple and how they would understand it. And then I was able to understand, okay, this is why this works. Now I understand it. It is super simple. I'll never have to worry about that problem again. I know exactly how it works. And I am completely like immersed in it. And it's basically like breathing. Like I come
After a
to
while,
this problem again, goes in seconds.
after a while, you get so good at something like what you're doing that you can become like Bruce Lee. He was like a philosophist when it came to martial arts, and it's like he was so fast, he was so good, and he could break it down, and
Yeah.
talk like a philosopher because he just done it again and again and again, thought about it so much and did it so much that. But he could explain it. Not everyone understood, maybe, but you understand it well enough that you in your heart know you can explain it. Then that's you're becoming Bruce Lee of fencing.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's a great example because he did it for so long, and he was trying to find the best ways of like how to become to truly understand everything, that he was able to transcend the the um the norm, and he, yeah, like you said, he became a philosopher about it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here, guys, and
That was
the
really good.
discussion. Will you continue with us?
Yeah.
Ryder, you good for that?
Oh yeah.
So I know, Dennis, you want to take a little bit of a break for yourself.
Sure.
Yeah. So then what I know I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on the funnel conference. We've got the funnel conference coming up in February. I'm doing a presentation. There's going to be a lot of presentations there. I think it's worth totally um, checking out, but then also even for yourself as understanding natural law. And as I research even a little bit more, I knew it as a different thing. I grew up based on simple morals and simple principles. It wasn't like you need to believe in natural law and there's this whole movement of natural law. It was just like it is what it is. It's just it is, period.
Right.
And so for me to get my mind around how we've gotten so far away from it, I'm still, I feel like there's like I'm still questioning as like what happened, and maybe that's the Passio work to understand that there literally is currently a dark force that is creating uh, and manipulating and hiding. No, they're not, because they're doing it in plain sight because they are using the skills and the understanding of mind control by using the first hermetic principle, which is everything is mental. And so they're controlling our thoughts from there. And so everything we're projecting from everything we're seeing, because we're sucking in all the images in theater, movies, TV, books, all of it, right? And it's been implanted in us for how many generations from the Bible or whatever. And then we're just then outpouring it onto the screen of this collective world. I'm spewing that as a repeated thing that I heard and kind of thought is a good idea, but there's still a physical reality, and yet there's still pixels of us on the screen, and I don't understand that. I don't understand the matrix. Are we in the matrix? I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much I don't understand. There's so much I want to understand, and I just went off on a whole tangent to say that my work and what I'm focused on for myself is another deeper layer of inner work. And that requires me kind of unplugging, like literally unplugging. No more input, no more anything. I just have to go off into my cave. Or for me, it's going to the beach and just being quiet and being in nature, just either being in the forest or at the beach with nothing and nobody, and I can process and heal. And that's at the stage that I'm at physically, mentally, emotionally. I still have life that I have to lead with work and everything, but that's where I'm at. So then I'm going to emerge back from that with the funnel work. So we'll take some time off, come back in February, and
When's the
and
final
take a look
conference?
at then again, what do we want to actually study? I really like Corey Enderlot. There's Steve Gordon and Colin and Leslie Powers. They're all doing something on the health um, health, what is it called? Healthrevealed.org. Colin does a lot of stuff on owning your own shadow. Uh, all of that. I mean, there's so much, like Jung, and read Carl Jung and do with this. It's like I need to go and do my own work and stop reading so many books. That's how I actually can process and do better for myself. But I want to take a quick moment and you guys take a look at this comment from Timothy. Whoops, did it go away? Just take a quick look at if you can see this comment come in.
I'm stuck on trying to reach morals as much as know it. I want to do better like you're doing better in fencing.
You're stuck trying to teach morals as much as know it. Why are you wanting to teach it? You know that whole saying of you teachers become teachers because they can't do?
Yeah, if you can't do, teach. If you can't teach, do. That's the phrase.
What? Say that again?
If you can't teach, do. If you can't do, teach.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's something similar to what my dad would say.
Kind
Is
of,
like
but it's
teachers teach because they can't do. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case. But I'm curious is if you're stuck on trying to teach morals as much as know it.
I think he's talking about a formal classroom setting, you know it well enough to verbalize it versus just live it as a sort of teaching on its own, right?
Yeah, that's a fine point. Okay,
yeah, like immersing your
so
or
the bottom line is
embodying
you
it.
have to be crystal clear on what morality means. Um, there's there's objective morality. We can be really crystal clear on all of this that it's we you theft of life, theft of someone's property, theft of someone's body, all that's the fundamental immoral piece, and we see that in all these points of mind control, right?
Mhm.
All 14 points of mind control go down to completely being immoral. It is theft of someone's consciousness, theft of their physical health, theft of their own energy, time, all of that. So that's one way you could potentially teach it is bring it out. Because I think Timothy, you're wanting to do some of the Mark Passio's tech work. What is it? What's the Mark
How to
Passio's
become
thing?
the true media seminar.
Yeah. So you're probably wanting to do some of that true media seminar work and just even these you could just take the 14 points and look at them from being moral or immoral. And how are they moral and how are they immoral? And let's just see and break them down. And I'm curious even like what's the etymology of morality? Ral? I don't know. What's the etymology? That's something I've never actually I don't recall looking it up for myself. What's the etymology? Where did it come from? What's the root of that word? Morse code, Morse. I'm sure there was something on that. I can't believe Mark wouldn't have delved into
Hmm.
that somehow. But just like right there, is that right or wrong? And where did those words come from? And are we just in our English language the only ones who have what's right and what's wrong? Because we know that there are some languages that don't even have, some cultures that don't even have definitions for something, and yet they have 50 different definitions for snow or something like that, right? We are such babies in this world of incredible vast amounts of awareness and knowledge, and so I mean I just feel like we're just like guppies in this world. Just like babies. Anyway,
And it's
tangent
hard
once
because
again.
whatever position you take in this world, we're always making exceptions for authority, which is an illusion like money.
And that right there, look at authority. Look at that word straight there. Authority, autonomy. Why are you allowing someone else to write your script, write your words that are coming out of your mouth, that are coming, the play that you are playing on this stage? All the world is a stage, all of that. I mean, there's so many allegories, so much around this. There's an excitement that is there because there's so much fun to learn, and yet at the same time then it's what's the word, this is something that I do love from my time in Scientology, which is the formula 88008, which is the infinite of all, pure theta, pure consciousness, pure infinite, right?
Yeah.
And goes into the messed matter, energy, space, time, this realm, right? Immerses themselves into it, morphs, transmutes it, becomes the whole material world, energy, space, time, and then it comes out of it the other end back into consciousness theta, pure infinite. That's 8008, the formula that Hubbard put together,
Does
and
he
I
say that
still love
something
that.
that can happen as a human, all that, or it's after death?
Well, the game that I think that they were promoting, and I say they because Hubbard was gone in the 80s. The game is that you can pay a few $1,000,000 and get up to OT 15, and lo
Right.
and behold, you'll be an
Oops.
infinite being. We all know that
Right.
that's a bunch of bunk. The bottom line is we can be an infinite being right now just by contacting our own self, just by coming, within, as within,
The
so
divine
without. So
part.
we
Yeah.
come in, we go out, we expand, and it's just a perception, right? Our perception is either we're perceiving, I'm perceiving through these eyeballs and through this skin right now. And it's like, no, we know that anyone who knows is like, no, I'm an infinite being. I'm using this puppet. I'm using this clock, whatever. I'm using this cloak, cloth, this puppet right now, this identity to create things.
When you were talking earlier about truthful actress or whatever, do you mean truthful to the character or truthful in general?
Living truthfully in imaginary circumstances. That's that's the Meisner technique. Sanford Meisner was an amazing acting teacher, and you don't let anything, you never just say lines. It has to be pinched out of you, right? It has to really come out of you, and there's something just so nourishing about that way of acting and being, even, right? I try not to dramatize too much, but my boys know. I can still dramatize. I have lots of dramatization, but at the same time, my higher priority is to be a loving, kind mom, first and foremost. From there, it's to create a positive impact on this playing field, that whatever positive impact I can create, whether that's literally picking up trash, feeding a kitten that's out on our patio, um, stray cats in the neighborhood or whatever, or just having maybe this podcast. I don't know. No, I do know. I do know what I
I
can do.
just
Otherwise,
wondered.
I probably wouldn't be here, right? There's something there. Or eating my son's awesome
I
oatmeal.
was just wondering what about the idea of being a truthful actor or actress versus like, because there's this fellow Kirk Cameron. Do you know about
Sure.
him? He's Christian. He was on Growing Pains, a sitcom, very popular, and it kind of was the roles and things his character was supposed to play was against his Christian morals, sexuality and stuff, and so it kind of he would get in conflicts over the script, and eventually sort of kind of stopped doing that. And I'm wondering if that's what you're kind of like
Oh,
being
no.
truthful toward your morals, but you're being paid to play a
No.
character,
Oh,
right?
I've played horrors that would not be true to me, Stefan, at all. But to me, that's quite the adventure. But I understand his principle, just like Jim Caviezel, because he's very religious and won't put things out on the screen that are, because he does understand putting out things that are, uh, um, just putting into the world that negative piece. But I think I've come to the point where it's like, as long as we all know and agree that this is playtime, we're okay, right? It's playtime
Mm.
and we can differentiate. But I don't
but
know. I may
life,
change my mind next week.
but life, if it's a game, if life, I've heard the analogy, life's a game. It's sort of like a deadly game, like in the Roman Colosseum, the gladiator games, because people are suffering and dying, and that's the problem. It's like more than just a game.
That's the problem. That's the problem right there. Okay. Uh, Exactly. People are suffering and dying, and it's no longer a game. Now it's become And that's the hardest thing for me to experience and to allow, to, I don't want to say allow because I'm not necessarily allowing it, but to not stand up and do something about it. That literally right now someone is being, you know, threatened, kidnapped, you know, infants' lives are being literally taken and it's exploited. And I mean, I can't even go there in my mind because it's so big. It's so much that I didn't know a year ago. I wasn't aware of any of that. I didn't, you know, no, I can't look at that. You know, law of attraction. I close up to anything that's negative. I only think of good things. No, 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 no. And so if I do expand my awareness and go, oh my gosh, we're on this planet, we're in this, and there are things going on right now, it can really take me down a dark path, because then what's it all like? How am I going to make a difference? How am I going to make a positive difference in those lives and that life and stop that from happening? It's like, wait a minute. And I think that that's what happened to Ryder. It's like, well, what's the point at all? And then he had to come back to himself, and that's where I have to come back, and then that's the cycle. It's okay, well, this is the identity that I have, that I've chosen in this time and in this place. And like with your work, that's, you know, your identity and what you've chosen and what you're putting forth with all your written materials and all of your website and everything. And so I think that that's, I don't know, at the end of the day, first do no harm. And then from there, do good, rinse and repeat. But also in for yourself. First, do no harm to yourself. Number two, do good for yourself. That's the one equation that was missing for me, because I was always outward focused. Help everybody else, fix everybody else, give to everybody else, nothing for me. Give to Scientology, work my ass off, be a slave to them, because that's going to help in the 2 billion year contract that I am here to do because it's like, no. That's the big mind control. I mean, that'd be interesting to actually look at all the mind control pieces that go on there, you know. But anyway, that's, you know, I think I've said it before. I'm going to say it live here. I am most proud that my sons are not Scientologists, and they know the truth. They know how to discover for themselves the truth. Now, if they ever chose to go and be part of a religion or part of a something or whatever, they would at least have known and had the ability to choose. It is never something that I would have forced on them or anyone, you know, at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Because I definitely got into Scientology because my parents, it was so important. It was like their solution, right? Mormonism was was my mom's solution, and Scientology was this other solution. So I thought that was the solution. It's like, and then I've seen so many family members do that. That is such mind control, and that's where I just have to keep being almost stupidly humble to my sons to make sure they know you have nothing to prove to me ever. It's absolute unconditional love. You have nothing to prove to me. It's me who has to prove my own sense of, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, because it's been so inverted. I think kids and parents, there's such a massive inversion. And I think for any mother or father to really get this, your sons and daughters are the best teachers of your existence. If you will let them be, they will be the best route to your wholeness if you don't destroy them. And instead, they're the perfect mirror for you to do your inner work. I mean, that's truly what's been for me. And Ryder already knows he has permission to be like, what did you? Anyway. Okay, folks, have an amazing rest of your night. Dennis, super good to connect with you.
You too. Nice meeting you. Ryder?
Pleasure. Thank you for the advice as well.
Yeah.
Have a great night, guys.